with us. At the same time, there's also the chat button, and there's also the question tab, so you can write questions to us and I'll be able to answer it. Teachers, as part of the presentation today, we actually have a special guest. Her name's Tamara, and she's working with the Hilltop Road Public School area, New South Wales. And yeah, they've got quite a bit of XOs, and I'm excited for you guys to meet her. Tamara, do you want to say a quick hello?
Hi, how are you all?
Um, it's going to be a bit weird and surreal because it's like we're talking to each other on the radio and we've got the listeners out there. But trust me, there are people listening to you, I promise. Okay, so Tamara, we've got a few questions for you, but just to get us started, would you be able to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, as you know, my name's Tamara. I work at Hilltop Road Public School in Marylands, which is in New South Wales. I teach a Year 5 class. I'm the EXO coordinator at my school. Currently we have 740 students. They all have a one-to-one device, and then we also have the teachers with their EXOs as well.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, with those students with the one-to-one, so even the kindergarten kids have them all the way up to stage 3 students with year sixes?
Yes, that's right. They all have an EXO, their very own EXO.
Oh, cool, not a problem. And in terms of the exos that the students are using, what benefits have you seen having the students interact with technology at such a close pace?
Well, we've had the EXOs from, I think it was 2012, the end of 2012, we started trialling the EXOs to see if we liked them in the classrooms. Two classrooms decided to trial it. Once they'd trialled it, they loved it, and then the rest of the school, we deployed it throughout the rest of the school. From then, it's just really helped us implement the 21st century learning skills that we wanted to incorporate in our pedagogical practice. Having the one-to-one device just makes it easier in terms of research, in terms of looking up information, being able to collaborate, communicate. Also the fact, the equality of it, because of the area that we're in, not all children have access to computers, not all children could bring in their own device from home. We wanted to make it equitable, so that was a massive thing and one of the biggest benefits of actually going with the EXOs. And the fact that they're easily repaired. So we looked into iPads, and although the school has iPads, when you break a screen, it costs the school a lot of money. If you break a screen with the EXO, we can easily repair it. So there are a few benefits as to why. As for looking at the children and how they've adapted with the EXOs, at first we had Sugar on there. This is before the device was on Android. They had to navigate through new technologies which helped them with their ICT skills, and just being able to collaborate through chats and collaborating on work, we saw a huge improvement in engagement, in student engagement. Therefore, the behaviour also improved.
Now, I'm actually a pre-service teacher, as you know, Tam. So I'm studying to become a high school science teacher, and I have been hearing a lot about these the 21st century learning. Just for myself, sorry, folks, for taking up time, but exactly what is 21st century learning?
So the 21st century learning, we don't really refer to that term, or not supposed to anymore. We call it the 4Cs. So it's looking at collaboration, so the way children interact with one another. It looks at communication, the way they can communicate and express what they're learning and how they're learning it and express it to other people. Looks at creativity, the way they construct and have the ability to go off and create things that it's an open learning really, so it's differentiated for the child. And also, I'm missing one, give me a second, collaboration, communication, creativity, co-create. So working together on a piece to construct something. So we can do that
Ah,
via the internet with other schools, or we can do that in the classroom in groups. So
it's not
without
limited.
the devices, yeah, it's not limited. Without the devices, we wouldn't have that, we wouldn't be able to do that as well. It would just
Hmm.
be a lot more limited. Yeah, a lot more limited.
Cool, not a problem, not a problem. Now that we've discussed that, thank you so much. I've been hearing about it. Now, this the 4 Cs that you've talked about, are they actually part of the curriculum outcomes you're supposed to hit?
Not specifically. I mean, it relates to the values that we're meant to implement. So yes, in that regard, but it does cover, it's more a pedagogical practice than it is
Oh,
outcomes
okay.
based.
Mm-mm.
It's something like some people in the audience at their school might be trialing project-based learning or SOL or Genius Hour or any of those type of programs.
Mm-mm.
These can be fostered through the use of technology, hence the EXO. So they're different programs that really concentrate on 21st century learning skills.
Oh, cool. Fantastic. All right. So
I
thanks
might
for
ask
answering
the
that.
audience if anyone.
Yeah,
I might
actually,
ask the audience if anyone knows what I'm talking about.
so audience, just a bit of feedback on that. Anything you'd like to add or just verify, please raise your hand, and so we can actually unmute you so we can discuss this.
Whether you might try any of those 21st century programs at your school.
I'm sure they're just raring to go, but anyone?
Sorry if I'm boring you.
I'm sure that's not true, but so um, I think I'll keep that open for the moment. And
Sure.
yeah, so if anyone would like to volunteer, we'd love to hear from you. As I said, this is actually I'd love for this to be a two-way street. I'm not just myself and Tamara. Oh, hang on, we've got Manisha. So Manisha says, what is the difference between collaboration and co-create? That's actually a good question.
Excellent. So collaboration is when you're all working on something together in a group. It doesn't necessarily have to be technology. It could be on a project. It could be on through Soul on a poster and so forth. Whereas co-create, it can be across schools. It can be just two people involved. So it's a little bit different, and it's actually creating something at the end. So there's an end product. So for example, project-based learning, at the end of it you need to have a result. It could be a letter, whatever the child is creating. You co-create it in a group. Collaboration might just be sharing ideas. So it's a little bit different in terms of concrete materials.
Hmm. So Manisha, did you want me to unmute you? Hang on, actually, I will unmute you. I'm not gonna ask the question. Hi Manisha, how you going? Maybe Manisha doesn't have. Manisha, did you have a microphone? Okay. So teachers, I really want to encourage everybody to participate. So yeah, for next week, please bring your microphones so you guys can ask. And I'm sure you guys would love to ask Julie Rodbig a lot of questions. She's going to be our special guest next week, and she's going to talk about Scratch Junior, where she's actually using Scratch as a method of teaching students to program robots. It's pretty cool. So, all right, folks. So Manisha's indicated that Tamara has already answered most of the questions, which is good. Hang on. And another question to follow up. Manisha also said, I also want to know what apps you use on an EXO to co-create.
Excellent. So if we look at different apps that we have there, Lansu is a really good one. So if you put your students in a group, you could get them to construct something. So you might want them to create a video to present to a younger grade about area or perimeter or something like that. You put the group together and they have to create something on Lansu. So Lansu is very similar to your smart board in terms of notebook. You can write on it, you can record, you can insert pictures and so forth. And if you have a group working on it, they have a final product in the end. And then they can show that to younger students and then teach them about whatever the specific topic might be, example, area or perimeter.
Cool.
So Lansu is a really good one. You could use as for co-creating. We've used Timeline, which you can download from Google Play Store. So Timeline, I wanted the kids to come up with the timeline for the different art movements because that's an area that we're looking at this term. So they had to first collaborate in terms of research the information, and they had to co-create the timeline and then present it to the rest of the class, and we could, after it's saved, we could print it out from the computer. We saved it to the PC and then we printed it out. So there's a few different things you can do on there. We use a lot of online activities, but as for the apps on the EXO, we usually use WPS or Drive and so forth, just to save our work, and usually that's creating independently. But they're just some ideas like Lensu.
Sweet. So if you notice, teachers, I've actually posted Len Su's webinar training. It's on YouTube, so please feel free to see that on chat, and you can click it, save it as a bookmark, or even if you've got a YouTube account, you can even actually save it as a favorite and watch it later. For timeline, Tamara, could you check if I linked the correct one? I found it on Google Play and just quickly linked it on chat. Could you have a quick look?
Sure. Let me just have a quick look. Hang on a
Yep, yep.
second. Where did you put it, sorry?
It's on chat.
Oh, sorry, let me just have I've just
Yep.
closed that window. Give me a second. It's not that one. 1 second. I'll just try and
Sure,
find
not a problem.
one moment.
While you're doing that, I've got Rachel having a question. So Rachel says we're having real issues in setting up Drive and getting Wi-Fi to work consistently. Any advice? Firstly, let me have a look. Rachel, you're from. Hang on, let me see if I can find you. Rach, I'm going to put you on. I'm going to unmute you. Okay? Can you hear us, Rachel? We can hear you. Yep, we can hear you fine, Rachel. You can talk.
Okay, hi, how you going? This is Rachel.
Wait a minute, you're not Rachel. Either that or Rachel had a really deep voice.
No, how you going? This is Andre. We've signed in with Rachel's account. We're both looking after all things IT.
Fantastic. Welcome.
And
Thank
as
you.
I said, we're just having some real issues with getting the XOs to consistently hook up with the DET Wi-Fi network.
Yes, yes.
And I know this is probably maybe not the forum to ask that, but that is probably the biggest hurdle that we are having with our XOs, and we're consistently trying to find answers. So we can't update, we can't add things to the store because they're just not connecting to Wi-Fi.
Sure, not a problem.
Um,
Go
I
ahead,
might
Tams.
jump in there, John. Sorry. Yeah, that was our biggest challenge as well in terms of challenges that we face with the EXO. There might be a few issues, and if you've already looked into this, then please excuse me. You'll have to ask John if it's not these things.
No,
But
go ahead.
one issue we were having was, you're using Wi-Fi's or the Aruba at your school? Which one are you using?
Aruba.
So one of the issues we were having, we started with the Arubas, but we didn't have enough. We only had them in every second classroom, and the children
Yeah,
couldn't connect.
yeah.
Have you got them in every room?
No, every second.
Yeah, so we were having troubles with that. We then went down the road of getting the little Wi-Fi, so the WAPs put into each classroom. Um,
Right.
and then once we did that, we ran into another hurdle because the DET loves to do that. We didn't have enough IP addresses. So could that be an issue with your school?
I really have zero idea. It's just very frustrating. They work inconsistently. So we were having problems with the iPads, and then when the DET then changed it, instead of using WSR, we now use DET NSW. That worked, and so now we're trying to get the XOs onto DET NSW network, and they just work inconsistently.
So if they are logging on and they're booting off, it might be the fact that there might not be enough IP addresses. Have you increased numbers in terms of devices connecting to the internet recently?
Yes.
So what happens is a regular school might have 500 IP addresses, so 500 devices can connect.
Yep.
Then you get an influx of devices and you have 700 or 1,000. There's not enough little pathways, let's call it that, to connect to the internet. So that happened to us, and what I had to do was call the department, IT department through the DET, and
Yep.
they were able to release more for us. They gave us an extra 700 IP addresses.
Okay.
So that means an extra 700 devices could connect.
Yep.
Right.
From that, now it's a lot more consistent, and the children aren't being booted off. But that was definitely a major challenge for us at the start too.
Thank you so much. We'll have a look at that. Thank you.
Cool.
No problem.
We've also got Ruben. Hang on, Ruben. I'll unmute you real quick. Sorry, Ruben. I saw your hand put up there. Can you speak all right?
Yeah, no, I was just
Fantastic.
going to see if I would have helped you with your IT problems, that's all.
Ah,
But,
brilliant.
sorry, I don't know what your name was. Um, um, Ideally, you do want to have one access point for each classroom, because once they start sharing off two classrooms between one access point, you're putting a lot of strain on it. The other thing too depends on the speed of your network, how recent it is, like your cabling or your switches and things like that. That could make a difference. As far as your devices are concerned, yes, IP addresses can be an issue. Can I ask how big your school is?
I'll quickly unmute Andre and Rachel. Andre, Rachel, you guys can reply now. Oh, sorry.
About 380 children.
Okay.
About 380.
Yep. I think the range of addresses they give is in total about 756 or something, but I think it might be around, some of those are reserved, so I think it might be around 500 available addresses. So you have to take into consideration whether people are using personal devices like phones or their iPads or anything else as well, apart from your XOs, as well as any wired computers that you have.
Yeah, I mean, we only have, how many XOs do we have, Rach? We have 80 XOs and 30 iPads.
Okay.
iPads, sorry. So, I mean, it
how
doesn't...
many computers? How many physical computers?
Probably close to 50.
Okay. And as far as your staff are concerned, do you have any idea of what devices they might be using? Personal devices like phones or personal iPads or other tablets or laptops?
So each teacher has an iPad, so that was included in the iPad count, and I suppose mobile phone devices as well. So mobile phones as well. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. It doesn't sound like you have probably exhausted your IP addresses yet, but performance-wise, it might be an issue with your network itself, like your switches and things, depending on how old it is.
Yeah.
Switches are those things where all the blue cables go in.
Sure. Our switch cabinet is chockers. It's full to the max.
Yep.
Our servers, got cables coming out of it everywhere, and we've been told there's no more room. So, would that have an effect?
Not necessarily, because you won't necessarily have every port plugged in, as in a computer plugged into it. You may have the physical cables connected to the switches, but those cables are actually linked to ports that are on your walls, and if there's nothing plugged into those walls, technically you're not actually using any IP address or anything like that. It's just a physical cable connection, but it's not being used. The only thing you would need to really check for performance-wise is whether the switches support probably a gigabit like link between, like, do you have separate buildings as well? Okay.
Yes.
Because most, the way that usually it works is that your outside buildings will have various switch cabinets, and all of those switch cabinets will come back to a central one, which is where your internet connection and all of that is, right? You've got a central cabinet and the other ones.
Yeah, probably. I won't hijack this.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Or I'll log a call. Or with department. Thank you.
Ruben, with your permission, would I be able to provide your email address to Andre and Rachel?
No, yeah, not a problem.
Fantastic. So, Ruben, Andre, what I've done is I've just sent a quick chat, private chat to you, and that has Ruben Lloyd's email address. So that way you guys can still collaborate together, eh?
Thank you, mate.
Not a problem.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
Awesome.
And Ruben, you may be getting some random emails from me too, because I probably needed that advice about a year ago. So I think you're the man to go to. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, thank you, teachers. Now, the next question I wanted to ask Tamara is, we've kind of touched it already, but with all of those XOs in your school and the children and the changes, what major challenges have you found and how did you overcome them?
Well, I'll obviously state the internet connectivity was our major issue, only because the internet's the #1 use for our XOs at our school. So we've ran into a few hurdles, but we've overcome them. Another one was Droney, which I'm so glad that One Education decided to go down the road of Connect. That helped us tremendously. Other challenges, obviously the time spent learning Sugar and trying to deploy it throughout the school and getting all the staff on board. We do have the late adopters to change, so it took a little while for those people to jump on board, but once they saw the benefits, we kind of went in the right direction. Also, I guess the changeover from Sugar to Android, that was a challenge for our school because we'd spent and invested a lot of time and energy into learning one way of teaching, and then we had to transfer to Android, but Android obviously much better, uh, so many activities you could download out of the Play Store, so we're glad we did it, but it was a challenge to try and get those late adopters to then go from Sugar to Android, so that was a bit of a hurdle. And then the last challenge I would have to say would be maybe at the moment the challenge we're having is the Play Store downloads, which obviously it's the world we live in. The kids are going to be downloading at home and all the rest. It's just being able to monitor that in the classroom that we're struggling with a little bit. We're trying to put new things in place, but we'd love some advice off the One Education team for that one.
Fantastic. Well, I've got Ruben raising his hand. Let me just quickly unmute him. G'day, Ruben. The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah. I was just going to say, even though if you've got an App Universe account, I know that students can add things from there, but you can remove the Play Store from the XO itself. I think it will still appear in App Universe, but if the kids don't understand how all that works, you might get away with it by just removing the Play Store from the XO itself, the actual app.
Definitely
Maybe.
an
It won't affect your I don't know, say you use Google Classroom or anything else. It shouldn't affect any of that because that's a portal account.
right.
You just won't allow them to have access to the Play Store, like there's no physical link or anything that they can get to unless they reinstall it through the App Universe. Yeah,
Cool.
that's all. Sorry.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Ruben.
that.
Okay, so I've got Manisha as well. Oh, hang on. Manisha doesn't have a microphone. Okay. That's a very good point. I have had experience. I have had an instance where a teacher comes to me and says, "John, they've just downloaded all of these I'll call it unapproved apps." And of course, as as someone who looks after all of the schools around the country, that kind of panicked me a little bit. It's like, okay, well, what can we expect, you know? So after we finish the conversation with Tamara, I'd like to invite Tamara to stick around a little bit. I'm actually going to talk to you guys about an app we found called App Lock, and it's quite handy. And the reason we're not having it on App Universe, even though it is a free app, is because we haven't got explicit it hasn't given us explicit permission from the developer to what do you call it to distribute it using our portal. So now we've identified those challenges, and of course we'll try to get on top of that as soon as possible. Tamara, I'd like to ask you now, what are you really excited about with the XOs and in terms of what you guys are doing as a school?
Excited, definitely, as I said, the connectivity, being able to use PBL and Genius Hour and all those wonderful programs. We wouldn't be able to do that without the EXOs, so for us that's exciting. I am excited about Lansu, that's one of my favourite apps on there. I also like the online activities, so code.org, Reading Egg, Schoolbo, Matific, all those kind of applications that in the past you'd have to book out the computer lab, we can actually have access to immediately. So just having the internet's number one, clearly. And then, as I said, Lensus. And then Google Classroom also is a really good platform for children to share ideas and for discussions and so forth. Cashy is a nice new app that you've
Yes.
just released, which I really like. It's probably more suitable for early stage 1, stage 2, not so much stage 3. And we've been using voice search a lot, which you obviously, it's like a verbal, it's connected to the internet. You say what you're searching for. It could be dogs, and then all the information will come up with dogs. But because it's voice activated, it's a little bit exciting for the kids. And the fact that Google's releasing their own version, it's just like a little bit of an introduction. So, and the biggest one, I should have said, Google Drive, being able to save to the cloud, no more lost USBs. That's exciting. And the fact they can email you via Gmail their work, so you can print it straight from your email rather than trying to collect their work on one USB and so forth. So it's just time saving. So the use of Drive, number one at the moment.
I'd like to invite anyone from Queensland at the moment to comment on that. I've heard that in Queensland they're a bit funny when it comes to Drive or to cloud access. Anne, did you want to comment on that? Or Manisha? Get a microphone, Manisha. um, hang on. Oh, sorry. I think I've offended Manisha. They've left. Hi, Anne. How you going?
Hi, John.
How you going? So, regarding the cloud, just wanted to see what's the situation with Queensland in terms of DET, allowing students and schools to access Google Drive and Dropbox and all that kind of stuff.
It's very hard at our school, John, because the classroom where we have our exos is not Wi-Fi. So I download everything at home or in our school library where there is Wi-Fi for the children to use on their exos.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Not a problem. But are you aware if Queensland is allowing schools to use Google Drive at all? If you know?
No, I'm not sure, John. I'll have to check into that.
That'd be great. That'd be because I know for some reason the Department of Ed at each state they have different policies for different things, and I just wanted to see if I guess we're on the same page, so to say.
Yeah,
Cool.
I will check into that though.
Thanks so much, Anne. Cheers.
No worries.
Thank you so much for that, teachers. Now, so teachers, now that we've, I guess, established all this is what the challenges that Tamara had faced, and what she's facing now would be, the downloads, and she's excited about all of these apps that she's just spoken about. I'm so glad that this is recorded. That way, I can watch it again and write every one of those apps and see if I can provide further support for it. But teachers, I'll open the floor to you now. Would there be any other challenges that you guys see that you'd like to bring to the floor? Just raise your hand. I'll unmute you, and we can then have you take the floor. Any takers? Awesome. Is this Andre or Ruben? Oh, sorry, Andre or Rachel?
Yeah, Andre and Rachel here. Just so when we actually eventually do get connection, Tamara, and I heard you say that you use Google Classroom. I've had a bit of a dabble with Google Classroom and Google Sites. So each child has their own website. But because they're sharing XOs and logging off and logging on, is there what's the quick way to access Google Drive and Google Classroom and all things Google Sites? Thanks.
Great question. To be honest, our kids, yeah, it's a hard one to answer. To be honest, our kids all have one-to-one devices, so they've all connected via their DET email. So I'm not sure how you'd get around them using those kind of devices if it's not personalised in terms of via email address. In terms of litigation and so forth, I'm not sure. You'd have to maybe ask John. Sorry, John. I'm throwing it over to you.
That's okay. Now, regarding that one, so Andre, once they've actually gotten into and logged in their details, because you are sharing the XOs, I'm just quickly going to show you how to do that. Okay. Can you guys see my XO in the background?
Yes.
Awesome. So this is just the settings tab, and I'm going to go to the one that says accounts.
Yep.
So if you press on Google, I've already logged in
Yep.
my account, so you can see it there. Hopefully my password isn't showing. Yep, it's not showing. That's good. Let me just quickly sort this out. And if you notice on the upper right-hand side, you've got the three dots. Those three dots can give you the logout options. So I'm quickly going to select my account, press the three dots up on the upper right-hand side, and you can see remove
Yep.
account.
Okay.
So once I press that, it's going to delete all of my data from this device. and another student can then input their own. And to input their, because it is an EDU account. Say for example, I've got my daughter. She's a year one student. I'm gonna press add Google account existing, and instead of signing in using this sign in, I actually use the
Yeah.
three dots again,
Ah, okay, I
and
see where I was going wrong.
yeah, that's gonna allow me to do a browser sign in,
Yep.
and that's going to give me this. Well, I'm just gonna quickly go. Her name's Jordan Ivy. Vergara. And Tamara, you know more than I do. Is it education.nsw.gov.au?
Yes, education.newsouthwales.gov.au, I think.
Oh, Gov, isn't it? Gov.
Yeah, gov.
Okay. I know it's a weird thing. So when you're doing this step, you actually, I don't know her password, so I'm gonna stop right there. So this is
Okay.
how you actually bypass the sign in. You go to the browser sign in. Once you finish this sign in step, it's gonna ask for the password. Put the password in correctly,
Yep.
and it'll get you to the portal.
Right. Okay. Cool. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Because at the moment my kids are Google searching DEC portal and then accessing the portal via the login button on the DEC portal
Mm,
page.
fair enough.
Logging in via there.
That kind of
So
works that way too, but this one will actually set it up. And again, to sign out, you just press accounts, press the account you'd like to sign out of, and press the three buttons. So there you go.
thanks very much. Thanks, John. Thanks,
Not a,
Tamara.
not a problem. Okay, so g'day, Ruben, and you have
That
anything to say?
somebody asked me that question last week, so it's good that it's still.
Cool. Hang on.
I was just going to say, if you want to make it easier, you just go into be it Chrome or browser and have them create a bookmark. That way you don't have to search for anything. You just put the student portal address in there and they can log straight in. Or if you really want to, oh no, you said it was a shared device. Oh, okay. Because otherwise you'd be able to set up their email on the EXO. But if it's a shared device, just put a bookmark and you'll have to the page of the student portal and they can just sign in straight then. Be simpler.
Awesome. Why didn't you? Why didn't
Sorry,
I
could you
know?
repeat that?
Okay, Ruben, did you want to
Sorry,
say that again?
Uh,
was that Ruben?
I was just
Was
going
that?
to say, for the sake of getting to the student portal, because it was a shared device with the other school, just go into browser or Chrome or even both and just create a bookmark. And that way, when they go into it, they don't need to do any searching or anything. It'll just be a bookmark that can either be saved as their main page or just go into the bookmarks through the menu there, and it will be a bookmark that they can just click and it will take them to the portal and they can just log straight in without having to do anything, look searching in Google or anything like that.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Yep.
Awesome. So the bookmarks actually something it just kind of just how do I say it? It gets stuck on the page. So to give you an idea, I know everybody knows how to make a bookmark here. So I'm just going to quickly go into Google Chrome. I'm going to go alpacas. It's because I love alpacas. Nope. Accept and continue. Sorry, I just reflashed this device. Please don't shoot me. I think I misspelt it. Science teacher, not English teacher. But for you to actually do a bookmark, thanks for that, Ruben. I'm just going to quickly press you in mute in a moment. Okay, so to bookmark something like this, you just press the star, tap it, and it's going to say you've just made a bookmark. Where would you like to store it? And if you tap, instead of mobile bookmarks, you can actually put it on desktop. And once that's there, press save. I'm going to go back home, and there's my alpaca. Oh, where'd it go? That was embarrassing. Let's do that again. I promise I know what I'm doing. I seriously do. Okay, so it's saving. Anyway, so while that's saving and embarrassing me to no end, uh, um, oh, Daniel, hang on. Daniel, I'm just going to quickly unmute you. One sec. Where's Daniel? Daniel, did you have a microphone with you, my friend? Oh, man. Okay, so Daniel just said, I have the student portal added to the home screen with a link. So that's actually what I'm trying to do once this cooperates with me, is once you've actually created a shortcut using the Chrome browser, it's going to come up and show you a little bookmarky thing right about there. Um, and it's just going to act like another icon. So, yeah. All right. So, Tamara, we've discussed a little bit about your okay. So we've discussed a little bit about what you're excited about. How did you think these exos impacted the students?
As I said earlier, in terms of it's given them the ability to use a device where some of them don't have access at home, and I say 80% would probably have access, but
Mm-mm.
that's that other 20% for the first time own their own device,
Mm.
and it has, as I said, truly engaged them in what they're doing in the true sense of the form where the work's differentiated for them and they're on task when they're given an activity on their exo. So they're just highly motivated, which again has improved the behaviour of the school, and they're actually accessing information that they would never be able to access if we didn't have that one-to-one device. Or if they did, they'd have to wait a week to look it up. So
Mm-mm.
that's the biggest thing, is empowering the students, being able to differentiate for their learning and the improved behaviour, I'd have to say.
Wow, fair enough. I do know that I've got Minecraft loaded on both my exos at home, and if my kids don't eat their greens or mess up their room and leave it messy, um, my wife and I take away Minecraft minutes, and it's a great motivator for them to behave. I love it. So.
Bribery always works.
It has limits according to great child psychologists, but it's working for me, so they better leave me alone. Okay, so teachers, that's basically the interview. I'd love to open the floor. Please feel free to ask any questions to Tamara or to myself. We've got a few more minutes left on the webinar, but if you'd like to have any questions asked, please shoot them now. Raise your hand. I'll unmute you, and we can get that sorted that way.
And if I don't know the answers, we'll ask Ruben, because I think he's pretty switched on, which is really good.
I'm actually thinking, Ruben, how come I didn't bump into you last term? I could have interviewed you for this term, my friend.
He knows more than me.
So, okay. Yes, Ruben.
Well, I was going to say that I'm not actually a teacher. I am a IT person. I work for two schools. One school, I've already rolled out the Exos, and they've all got the Android system on them, and starting to being used.
Awesome.
The teachers are still sort of figuring it out, but I've given them training in some of the basics. There's still a long way to go with it, but anyway. And the other school is only just switching over to Android now because they were using Sugar. I've only set up 2 classes because, unfortunately, the only problem I find with the Exos is that it's a very manual process.
Mm-mm.
And, you have to put a USB in each one and do this, that, and the other. And when you're sort of doing it on your own, even though you might have multiple USBs, you still have to individually set up each one. The kids, because they play with the device, so we've had instances where they've gone into the settings and they've put passwords in the screen, and so you can't actually get into the XO. So if they forget their password or don't know or whatever it is, you basically just have to wipe it and start again, which is a bit of a
Unfortunately.
pain.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, So what John was talking about there with that app lock, that might actually be something useful because you can block them from getting into the settings. Because once the XO is set up with their, portal account and all that sort of thing, there's no reason that they need to change it. And all the Wi-Fi settings and all that, there's no reason for them to change that. They don't need to touch any of that because in each school it should be standard, and once it's set up, it stays that way. It's the only thing that the only thing that you would have to consider is the passwords that you give your students, because if you change a password in like their portal password, you have to update Connect.
As well.
Because otherwise, it won't work anymore. So if you have a EXO program, say from kindergarten to year 6, they have that one-to-one device, you might need to consider keeping that same password from kindergarten to year 6 if you're going to sort of have the EXOs, spanning that time period, because, if you have to start manually configuring each one, it's going to become a bit of a pain.
Especially you've got 700 of them, tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't know how you managed to do 700.
But yeah,
yeah. So it's not a fun process in that respect. That's the only issue I find with these. As an introduction though to the XO, once each student has been assigned an XO, I like to do the XO ID thing where they can sign in and select their name from the list and the teacher and all of that sort of thing, because that sort of introduces them to the system itself. The touch screen, they have to find their name, the sliding around of things and all of that. They will pick things up anyway, but it's just as an introduction. And staff, especially when they're new to this thing, they will need training because it's not, even though it's like a Samsung phone, it is and it isn't, and it doesn't have features like an iPad. Perhaps a lot of people are familiar with an iPad, but it's a different system, and I think this actually is a better system because it teaches you more about computers in general, because you have to manage this device. You have to install apps, you have to remove apps, you have to go through the Play Store and configure things and all sorts of things.
So did you want another job here at One Education? Because, that'll be really good.
Yeah, so if you want kids to learn about computers, I think the XO is a great device, and especially the older ones, like you were saying before there, you can repair them. So if you can get them to do that, that's another aspect to computing it they probably wouldn't have with a normal computer or an iPad. With an iPad, once it's broken, you can't really do much with it.
Pretty much, yeah. So, Ruben, excuse me, just on that, we've got a couple of more requests to have your email and a potential job offer over at Warrington County with Andre and Rachel. So just expect those emails, my friend.
Yeah. Look, a lot of the information that I have is basically because I configured my school, the network, as well as the XOs, and as I said, my training is in IT, so I've had to work a lot of things out though with the XOs because I'm very, things have to be a certain way, and I'm very, I guess you would say, yes, controlling. Okay, fair enough. But as you see, because I don't like the kids to think of these as a toy, they sort of look a bit that way. And that's right when they play with the the security settings and all of that, they don't really need to be touching any of that stuff because that just interferes with the learning.
And speaking of which, I wanted to introduce the smart app lock. Just let me do that real quick, and because I think you've still got a fair few things I'd love for you to share some more. Ruben, let me organize for another session with you. That way you can have a chat about how the differences between Android and the transition between Android and Sugar, because I think that is going to be quite valuable to quite a few of our participants. Let me schedule. I'll contact you and interview you separately if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, no worries.
Awesome. All right, mate. Let me quickly have a chat with everybody about Smart App Lock, and we should be finishing in about 5 minutes or so. So thanks for your feedback, Ruben.
Yep.
Awesome. Now, folks, thanks again for Ruben and Tamara for all of their help and for participating, guys. Thanks so much. Next time, bring a microphone so you guys can talk to us as well. Now, with the advent of Play Store being available to every single XR, you can actually have kids downloading Grand Theft Auto, Minecraft, using mom and dad's Google account so they can download their own. Number one, if you see a child on Instagram or Facebook, let them know that's illegal. The terms and agreements, terms and end use agreement basically says you're not allowed to touch any of that unless you're 13 years old. And if my maths is right, no 13-year-old should be in stage 3, if my maths is right. But in the case that they do have it, it's a good possibility it's not their account. It could be mom and dad's elder brother, elder sister, or whatever. So how do we then do that lock? On the App Store, oh no, not the App Store, the Play Store, sorry, you've got Smart App Lock. Let me see if I can actually quickly search for that one. Yeah. If you notice, that's already locked me out. So on here, you can actually see this app. It's free. It does have in-app purchases, but it's not one of those types that kind of is in your face, you know. And hang on. Okay, so teachers, what we basically do is just download this to your XR. For those of you who'd like to know how to deploy this to all of your XRs, I've done a webinar on app deployment last term. I'll be able to give you guys the link, but basically extract it, put it on a USB stick, and just you can copy it to the rest of the students, and the students can upload it themselves. It's really, really drop dead simple to install a USB that's been extracted. You just literally tap it on your ES File Explorer. Anyway, moving back on. So what does Smart App Lock do? Let me just open that thing. Once you actually have it installed, you can select which apps, right? So I'll quickly go back. So this is the main screen of Smart App Lock, okay? And there's a plus button here that you tap. Yeah, Tamara's got a really good point. She basically, did you want to just read that out, Tamara, while I get this prepped out?
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your I just one way to manage whole school maintenance for EXOs is to create an mechanics group.
We're losing you, Tam. Tamara.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep.
Oh, better, sorry. An EXO mechanics group.
Okay. Sorry, Tam. That just cut out real bad there. The microphone gremlin is okay. Basically, what Tamara has done is she successfully wrangled an army of is it stage 3 children, stage 2, stage 3 students. Yep, oh goodness. I think it's actually either the headphone jack Tams or the wire. Yeah, so Tamara's trained up a bunch of these students, yep, stage 3, and they're basically her army of exomechanics that help her port these apps, input proxy details, connect students and teachers onto the internet, reflash the devices. So there's a full program that we're going to be dealing with. Mr. McKillicuddy or one of his associates is actually going to explain that to us in the 4th webinar from today. So yeah, watch out for it, guys. Watch out for it. Oh, you also have stage 2 as well. That's pretty good. All right, so teachers, in Smart App Lock, once you've downloaded it, you actually can you can put settings on, change passwords, change your settings. You can choose what pattern you're going to be having. You also have the choice of what apps to lock. So this is just your basic settings. On App Lock, at the moment, I just chose One Academy and I've chosen Play Store. But exactly what Ruben said, what if you want to have them locked out of Connect so they can't muck around uh, with the settings? So press Connect there so they can't change the settings. Is there another thing you'd like them to, Google settings, you'd like to lock them out of Google settings? Press that. And I'm just going to press Add on the lower left-hand side. I'm just going to quickly circle that right there. By pressing that, they're now protected. So I'm going to go and try to access settings. Okay. I think I pressed the wrong Google settings. That's the one. If I try to access Google settings, it's going to give me a password. I'm now in Google settings, right? Or say, for example, I'd like to, if I'm a student and I'd like to download 50 Shades of Grey or something along those lines, I'm going to go to the Play Store and it's going to give me this password. So there you go. So teachers, this is just one way that we can stop it. Another one that's actually quite useful is something with that you need to talk to the principal about, because the executive basically have the power to do this. We can actually help you write up an internet fair use or ICT fair use policy. That way the students know what's expected of them, and if there is a non-teacher approved app, so if it's not on App Universe, and if it's not approved by the teacher, and they have it on their XO, right, they're violating that agreement. And they know that there's a punishment coming to it because they've signed the agreement. If not them, their parents have signed the agreement and agreed with it. So basically, it can be a bit confronting because it's a total ban on technology, but that fear of punishment is more often enough to do the management. So any comment on that at all, teachers? So here's the question now, though, and I'd like for you guys to actually participate on this. Real quick, once the student has broken your trust, or once you've caught a student who's downloaded an app or something like that that's not approved, right? You've banned them from using ICT. How are they then going to restore their ICT privileges? So I'm just going to quickly put that question up. Right? So it's not really it's more like a bit of an essay question than anything else, but I'd love to hear your feedback, teachers. Please let me know either by putting it on the question box or by sending me an email. It'll be cool to know what people think about it. Main reason is I'd like to know myself, because all I know is by the time that they've um, downloaded something like Grand Theft Auto or something like that, well, they know they're going to get punished. How are they then going to earn their trust back? Yeah, that's a really good point. Tamara just typed in, by undergoing a cyber safety program run by the exomechanics in the school. Ruben just said, ask them if they've understood the policy. Yeah, that's a very good point as well. And maybe just helping them get educated about the policy. Fantastic. Yep. Cool. So teachers, if yeah, just email me some more answers, or if you want to type before we close for the day. So that's basically it, guys. The two ways we can manage. Hang on. And doing a so I've got Jan saying doing a gradual return to full usage and verifying policy. That's a very good one. So instead of just complete, it's kind of like gradually showing them that yes, I can slowly trust you, and they build that trust up again. Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. Thanks, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these answers on the forum page, And the forum page, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, is here. So it's forum.one.education. Hang on. So, hi, Ruben.
Hi, I was just going to say with with the policies and all of that for the IT stuff,
Mm-mm-mm.
it's partly I'd say the teacher's responsibility really to instill the the proper use of technology. I know that teachers have a lot to do. True, I'm not a teacher. I can't see what they do in their class necessarily, and how busy they are and all of that.
Mm-mm-mm.
But a lot of the education, they have to pass that on to their students. So with that, I think the teachers themselves need to become familiar with the technology and
Yes.
also realize how it's used, what they need to do with it, and the dangers and all that sort of thing. So it's a lot about education and not just using the technology. There's a way to use it as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly right.
So I think
That's a
those
really,
two.
really good point. Yeah, thanks for that, mate. Cool. I've really loved the exchanges we've had so far, guys. Thank you so much for participating. Now, we've just got we're 1 minute over, and what we'll need to do, folks, is, like I said, I'll put the answers that you've got, I'll collate them, and put them on the forums. Please feel free to visit them. It's forum, I'll highlight it for you. Here we go. Forum.one-education.org, just right over there. And yeah, just feel free to have a look at it. It's so good to see all of the teachers collaborating like this. And on the same forum, you'll have the schedule for the next series of webinars. Like I said, we've had Tamara today. Next week, we're going to have Mrs. Rodig from the Rangba State School in Queensland. So that should be good. All right, teachers, that's it for this afternoon. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much, Tamara, for your time and for allowing us to interview you. Oh yeah, I forgot your microphone's busted. Sorry, mate. But teachers, what we'll do is we'll actually break for the moment, and the 5:30 webinar should start soon. So if you'd like to hear all this craziness again, feel free to log in. But we've got our friends from WA and South Australia hopefully joining us soon. All right, guys, have a great afternoon. Visit the website, visit the forums so you can catch up in the latest news. Thanks so much and have a great afternoon. Bye now.